All right, so have some things to talk about to you guys this beautiful Monday, and it's usually easy for me to speak about spiritual concepts. I generally have an easy time at that. That's what I've been up to for the last 15 years. And I think one of the things that I've shied away from, particularly in the last few years, has been sharing difficult spiritual concepts. Or in my own journey, I think I really focus on sharing the good stuff and really looking to minimize anything that is difficult, or at least my difficulty in understanding it. I just try not to share that. I try and share it when I'm on the other side of it, because I find that most of the time is what's most effective in terms of supporting people on their own spiritual journeys. Now, that being said, I have felt a little bit of inspiration today to go a little bit into the other side of the spiritual journey. And as many of you know, I'm a student in A Course in Miracles, and one of the concepts in A Course in Miracles is that he says that my way is not different. My way is not difficult, but it is different. And I think that that's been really interesting for me in these last few days, because even though my way or God's way or Spirit's way of living is not difficult, it is indeed very different. And I think what makes it difficult for a lot of us is that we need to get over our resistance to it. Our resistance to living in a way in which we suffer, and recalling past memories and keeping ourselves kind of distant from others is what essentially gets us into these kinds of circles. In the yoga tradition, they call them these circles of samsara, where you just where you just keep getting spun around. And the whole idea in yoga, well, not whole idea, but one of them is that you're looking to break free, which is moksha. Looking to break free from that constant spinning, that constant circle. And I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about my last week. I had this opportunity to travel, and I was invited, and I was super excited about it, and I was getting things ready. I was going back into kind of an old community, but really wanting to go there in a new way. I've had such an incredible few months here in Puerto Escondido in Mexico, and so much of what I've learned has been just so uplifting and so enlightening. And I was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go share all this love in my old community. And there were so many healing things that were happening, like old relationships. I was reaching out and saying, hey, I love you so much, and please forgive me if we, for anything, any discomfort and all that stuff. And a lot of things were lining up, a lot of really good energy. But when it came down to it, at the very end, when I was ready to kind of hit go, I withdrew. And I could say it was about A, B, and C. I could say it was due to my fear. I could say it was due to somebody else's fear. I could say a lot of things. But the bottom line was that I made a decision. And I decided that I wasn't ready to go back into this community and kind of go and be all bright and myself. And that decision brought me, on one hand, a lot of relief, because I was like, oh, good. It's a lot of energy, and I'm healing from cancer, and all of these things are kind of happening, and I just want to stay focused, right? I just want to stay in the center lane with this all. I was going to be traveling with my children on my own. My husband was super clear. He didn't want to go. And I'd never done that before, and I thought, you know what? I'm relieved. I'm glad this isn't going to happen, because it was going to be a lot of work. It was going to be a lot of energy. But on the other hand, there were all of these benefits that I felt like I was going to be missing out on. So on one hand, seeing old friends and family. on the other hand, really feeling that I have had the opportunity to really demonstrate the truth of who I am, and that I'm healing, right? And that I have healed from cancer. And even though I still have a little bit of it left, I know that I'm so close. I can see it, I can feel it. But that decision kind of brought me into this really sad place. And the bottom line was that I felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to hold my own in that old environment in which I knew a lot of my brothers and sisters, if you will, in spirit, saw me in my old way, saw me being disempowered or victimized. And because I held them to that perception of me, I then held that perception of me. And yeah, I'm trusting that you're still following me. But I had a sad week. And I think what I really want to share with you too is that even though I made that decision based out of an old idea of who I am and who others are, that it was cleansing. Because the weirdest thing that happened was that I've been doing so much healing in my heart center. Those of you know who been following my journey is that I'm healing from breast cancer, and my heart center is where a lot of where I hold all of my grief and resentment and sadness and things like that. And here I am thinking I've come so far, and that's the energy I'm going to share. And when I made that decision, I had this kind of abscess grow out of my left arm. And it was really kind of alarming. It was unattractive. It was super painful. And it brought me deeper into this concept of I'm not good enough, and I'm unlovable, and I'm guilty. And guilt is the number one gift of the ego. The ego loves it when you feel guilty, because when you feel guilty, you've basically said, your energy is saying, what you're putting out into the universe is, I'm separate, and I'm not divine, and I'm not one with him who created me, or that which created me, or source, or however you hold God, ocean, nature. And that energy creates sickness. And as I'm healing from cancer, and then I have this other thing going on this side, it was like such a way for me to learn about detachment. And I had all these things I was going to do this week. I had all these commitments that I had made, and one by one they started disappearing. One by one they were disappearing, and they were disappearing because I really needed to look at myself, honestly and truthfully. Where are you still holding someone else accountable for their faults? Where are you blaming rather than blessing? Where am I letting resentment stand in the way of forgiveness? Where am I withholding open communication? All of those things. And maybe you think this is silly or whatever. It doesn't matter, really. What matters is that we allow all of it. We allow others to have their thoughts and feelings. We allow ourselves to have our thoughts and feelings. And if I've learned anything on this journey with cancer, it's this: you gotta heal your stuff in this life. A Course in Miracles says that everybody has their own individualized curriculum, and it's not our job to know what someone else's curriculum is or what somebody else's role in the sonship is. Just like cells are designated to different parts of the body, a cell that decides that it wants to go off on its own and create its new universe, that's called cancer. And I think cancer demonstrated and was able to form a colony, if you will, in my own body, because there was a part of my mental frame that was allowing and holding itself separate from all that is. It was saying, no, I want to hold these people accountable. I think this was wrong in myself or others, and I'm unwilling to change that. But outside that, I think I'm functioning in a healthy way, which is indeed not the case. So my message to you guys is allowing. Let us allow everything. Let us surrender to the abscesses under our arms. I thought it was really interesting because here I was at this like little hospital in Puerto Escondido, and there was like, the recommendation was you need to have a little surgery. We need to get this thing out. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And my mind was just judging me so fiercely, like, oh, you're gonna let this out, but you're not gonna go cut out your cancer. And it just, for whatever reason, made more sense. It was a bacterial thing. They recommended I take antibiotics. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So it doesn't make sense in many ways. But I think that that's like what makes sense about the universe. I mean, it is so intricately put together. What makes sense about how the stars are placed? What makes sense about the ocean and how deep it goes and how many creatures it has and the way that it ebbs and flows? I mean, what makes sense about palm trees? I mean, look at these palm trees. Aren't they magnificent? I think that our egoic minds are so much in the way of us really seeing what's true. And what's true is that you do not get to choose your curriculum. The curriculum is in place. The only choice you really have is when you engage in the curriculum. And I said I was willing a number of years ago when I walked into It's Yoga in San Francisco in 2004, and continually have said I was willing to go on this journey of learning how to bless rather than blame, how to let myself off the hook, how to let others off the hook, how to get over my resistance to a way that is not difficult but is different, and how to stand in my power even though my way is different. Even though, you know, so many of us are out there saying we're children of God, we are here to serve, we're on a mission, but how many of us truly at the end of the day are willing to be different and to stand into that, to disengage from the material world and all that that looks like? So much of my attraction to going on this trip was like, you know, I live in the jungle right now and it's hard to get my hands on a lot of things. So I was like, oh, if I'm back in the States, I can get this, I can get this, I can stock up. But again, it was about accumulating. It was about getting rather than giving. And I know that there's difficulty on the path, and I certainly saw that relation between guilt and what happens in the body when we guilt ourselves or guilt others. And all I can say to myself and to all of you who've been kind to continue watching for these last 12 minutes is this: you're here on a purpose, and your purpose is to align again to what is essential about you. What is essential about you, your essence, is that you're a part of this whole big mystery, this great mystery of life, and it's bigger than you think it is more powerful than we think it is, and it's more loving than we think it is. And to the extent that we continue to align ourselves to that level of thinking and surrender, because it's powerful. This thing took me down last week. It was this big nasty thing, and I find as I continue to clean and polish myself from the inside, all that is left that is unloving and unkind and judgmental has got to go. It's got to come out till I'm really 100% ready to say, when I'm healed, I am not healed alone. And I know that the power of God is within me, and I know it's within everybody. I know that for a fact. I don't always remember that in the moments when I'm feeling down, or when things are not as I want them to be, or that they've changed, or that I've had to disappoint others. I think that's a big one too, when we've got to disappoint other people to follow our own truth. That's sometimes seems like God is unfair. And then I think of like all those times when people go on vacation and they're like looking for sun, and then it rains, you know, the whole time, or the weather's crappy, or whatever it is. And it's like God isn't concerned so much with our disappointments, isn't so much like trying to please us from a place of being accepted. Nature is always asking us to step up our own game. It's not going to step its game down so that we can meet with it. The idea is that we continue to lift our own consciousness and our understanding, lift our level of light into, you know, the energy that created the sky. And to the extent that we do that, we get to align to this very powerful energy. And even when we're down, and even when we're sad, and even when we're at the hospital I was like literally getting this little surgery, this like surfer surgeon guy, thinking, thinking, how can this be? And it just kept coming to me, breathe. Just breathe, Marie. Just breathe. My way is not difficult, but it's different. And if it's feeling difficult, there is some investment that I'm having in being right. And A Course in Miracles asks us, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? So that's the question I'm going to leave you with today. Own your mistakes, apologize, atone for them, and move on. I think that's the message for me today. Just move on. Forgive yourself, forgive others. Go with the flow. Timing is an illusion. At some point, it's all going to make sense. And to the extent that we keep reminding ourselves that these spiritual concepts are universal and that they're for all of us and that we're all involved in this big, great mystery, the safer we'll be. And the more we'll embrace, okay, this might not be difficult, but it is different. So I'll leave you with that today, sending each of you lots of love and trusting you'll have a miraculous, miraculous week. And remember, a miracle is simply a shift in perception. So just changing your mind about something. And yeah, it is difficult sometimes. It really is. But what's difficult is our resistance to doing it. And it just takes practice. So whether you're a master at it or not, the idea is that every day, my yoga teacher used to say, you're a beginner again. Every day you wake up and you're a beginner again. And that's ever so true, especially during the hard times. So have a look at the ocean. This is the view from the top level of our house. Isn't that gorgeous? And yeah, namaste. Lots of love to you all.